This week on your old school RuneScape update, the Wintertodt Beta brings changes to warmth, protection of pyromancers, and supply boxes. We sample it and share our thoughts. We also look at the proposed Wrathmaw changes and discuss just who asked for Sandmaw and if this is the right approach at all. This is the Old School RuneScape Update, episode 46, recorded Saturday, September 21st, 2024. Who asked for Sandmaw? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. Sirion and myself are here as we are each and every week. Hopefully, you guys have had a good week, and this week we have content to discuss that definitely crept in under the radar near the end of the week, but I think we're both fairly pleased with the at least one of the sections that was shown to us this week. Mm-hmm. That's right. Of course, we're talking about Wintertodt changes, the open beta, and this is the spicy one, new proposed Wrathmaw changes that we're going to talk about. Yes, we're going to get into all of that in just a moment. But of course, if you want to follow along or subscribe, you can find the full show notes and how to subscribe over at update.show/OS. We also have our Discord at update.show/Discord and a friends chat in-game that you can find at BitsBytes. All right. So we'll talk about what we've been doing after, but let's just open up the show with our favorite fire-making boss here. The Wintertodt changes that they have put into an open beta.
No, not next.
No, not next.
What's she called? Oh, Char.
You're thinking of RS3 here. and when you think about it, that is almost one of the things that game had close to a skilling boss. But maybe that's a topic for another show. Though she did disappear. Anyways. Ay. Okay. So we heard about these changes, I think, at the Summer Summit, right? They kind of let people know that they were going to be making... was it the Summer Summit, or was that before the Summer Summit?
No, this was part of the minigame poll.
Part of the minigame poll. Okay.
82, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and it passed. Yet we're getting a beta around it to address, I guess, the concerns for people who live at Wintertodt, just to make sure it feels natural, I guess you could say. And I think the biggest thing that we take away from this beta is that we get to experience how it's going to be before it arrives in game. And the biggest thing there is the warmth bar that replaces your life points as a way of getting through the boss, which I think is smart.
Yeah, the existing mechanic, I understand why they made the damage take like a percentage of your health bar, because otherwise it would either be impossible for low levels or be trivial for high levels. So I understand it.
Yeah.
But it created this meta where, like, a lot of people were like, oh, just avoid getting any hit points XP until you can finish it, because basically at a low level you can rapid heal your way out of all of the damage.
Or use simple food.
Yeah, which is fine, and I think like people are like, it's good that people find interesting ways of dealing with it. It's just annoying that it's a one-way door. Once you have some hit points levels, you no longer can do this strategy, and that is, I mean, there might be cases where this is appropriate for games, but in general, it's something you want to avoid, right? Like, especially if your main character progresses, and now you have to, do a worse strategy, if you want to call it that. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, not the optimal strategy, we'll say. Not necessarily the worst.
And no. I mean, even then, like, dealing with the food is not a problem. And people have also rightly said, like, hey, if you're higher level, you get better rewards. Though I don't think that really applies to your hit points level.
No, because let's be real, everybody is there for the XP.
Yeah, but like for an Iron Man, the rewards are actually really useful as well. But I
Okay,
think
that's
it
fair.
looks at at your farming level, your wood cutting level, and all of that. So I don't think your hit points level actually contributes to your reward rolls, though. Don't quote me on that. So all in all, I think you know, it 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 in a sense punished you for being better and having spent more time on your character.
Yeah, like I've made the
And that
actual
and that and that is something they just want to get rid of.
yeah, and I've made the decision to not go back until these changes come in, being, level 77 hit points. So, um I had an opportunity to test the beta briefly in a solo encounter, and the one thing that immediately stood out to me is that I can now get by bringing just a few cakes into Wintertodt for my healing.
Yeah, which is great because they're much denser, right? Like they're free heals in one inventory slot.
Yeah.
Um,
Each bite restores 35%
yeah,
of the
exactly. So
warmth.
that's like a full warmth bar just in one inventory slot that you can restore.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's a lot simpler with that. Um, there's also the new option to help the pyromancer when the pyromancer gets knocked out, which I thought was interesting in terms of how the rejuvenation potion works, and in a series of subsequent changes that were made to the starting area, you no longer now get the farming XP for picking the Burma herbs.
that's what change they were going to make, right? I'm not sure if that's
Yeah.
actually on the beta server, but yeah,
No, it's not. It's in the list of coming changes before launch.
exactly,
Um,
exactly.
and I think the interesting thing with this, still looking at this, is that they said they were on the fence about doing that because the XP is small and the majority of players weren't engaging with rejuvenation potions. But the reason for this is to avoid the extremely low effort, on demand farming XP methods. And they want to steer clear of those, even if they're outright bad. I
Mm.
wonder how many people did that.
Um,
Because it can't be that great XP.
no, and it wasn't really a thing that people did previously, but now that there are routes in like the starting area, it becomes trivial, right? You're not even in danger.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's probably the reason and the thing that put it over the edge.
Because I'm trying to think, we don't have any, like repeatable farming things like instantly, except for Tithe Farm, right?
That's correct. And Thai farm, of course, is
It's like level
a very
35 or
high
something.
effort, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and you need a level to
uh,
get into it.
yeah, I think it's completely fine where it sits.
Yeah, okay. Um,
I need to go back there and actually unlock the herb sack, but I
right,
don't want
right. And the reason we never did that, I never did that initially, is because I didn't have the graceful outfit at the time. But I assume now, and once the run energy changes come in, that'll be something that becomes a little bit easier to do. But that's a topic for another show, as they say. They're also aware of the interest in making instances available for solo players, and this stood out to me because they said that the work to perform this is massive in scope compared to the other changes being made here. So it's not something that's going to be looked at alongside this, but they are aware of the interest for it.
Yeah, in this, Wintertodt is very different than, say, Temporos. Like, Temporos is already instanced. Multiple Temporos fights can happen at the same time, whereas Wintertodt is like a world boss, right? He's actually present in the world as it is. So turning that into an instance all of a sudden requires, you know, making it an instance and everything that comes with it, and figuring out how to align that with like the timer and the world boss, and so I can see why it's a lot of work.
Yeah, yeah, and that underscores again the scope of change that you're able to make with something just on the surface level here. And I think the biggest thing to come out of this is warmth, because that I feel like was the issue that was being, asked about and polled in the minigame poll, and that's what effectively passed here. And then everything else we're seeing is just little nips and tucks around the edges. Was there anything else in these changes here that stood out to you as being big and impactful?
No, I think for me the fact that rejuvenation potions you can make them up front will hopefully, like, it's really funny being in mass instances and then the pyromancer goes down and like nobody heals and you all run, and like I've been in an instance before where all 4 beacons went out and nobody healed like any other pyromancers. Bloody hilarious.
And you were one of the people that ran to one of the other braziers, right?
I tended to not be the one, but I also didn't heal them. So, because it is just annoying, right? Like you wanna, especially in mass worlds, you wanna get started on gathering the roots as soon as possible. So it was a little bit annoying and frustrating that you had to grab the herbs elsewhere and then run back.
So if you have to start, then just grab like one of the rejuvenation potion vial thingamadooies and the herb and make one of those. That's probably enough, yeah?
Yeah, and now that it is also something that heals you, I forgot for how much, but it is a healing item as well.
I don't necessarily know that you'd want to heal off that, but it's an option.
Yeah, exactly. But like, if it heals a reasonable amount, I mean, first of all, great for Iron Man, right? They can now go there with basically 0 supplies, and just use the rejuvenation potions to heal. But also, if people choose to use the rejuvenation potions to heal themselves, they will have some of them on them, and there will be more people to just help the pyromancers and avoid that situation. So, all in all, I think it's a really positive change, a really good change. It was never the most interesting mechanic keeping the pyromancers alive.
No, it wasn't. And as
of course,
it's
a little bit more challenging on a solo in a solo encounter, but in mass worlds, it was always, I don't know.
It was always something that just happened. I guess you could say somebody did it.
Yeah,
and we were very thankful to them. And the last thing I think I'll say on this is that they specifically mentioned in the blog that running out of warmth will kill you, and Wintertodt remains a dangerous activity. Therefore, hardcore Iron Men are not safe there. So keep yourself warm, or somebody will bury your bones for prayer XP, and the masses will laugh at you.
Yeah, I may or may not have died at Wintertodt before.
Oh, really?
There was like I was low on food, and I was like, I can squeeze out another encounter. No. The problem with Wintertodt that I still have is it's too random, right? Like I think Wintertodt is pretty well designed, with the exception of like the randomness of it. Like sometimes you can just be hit multiple times in a row, which is really frustrating because it keeps interrupting you.
Yep, that is the most frustrating part of it.
Yeah, and there will be a little cooldown for that at least, but even then, like some encounters you got out with barely any damage and others like a lot, and I wish there was that they would make it a little bit more consistent, right? Like it doesn't have to be always the same, but I know this also happens in combat encounters, obviously, because you have accuracy and defense and damage rolls, but
yeah,
it feels more extreme and more random at Wintertodt, especially because the rate at which you get attacked is very random, and I wish they would change that. And that to me is the biggest frustration with Wintertodt. Like I understand why it interrupts you, right? Because otherwise it would be completely AFK activity, and I want to prevent that.
Yeah,
fair enough, but yeah.
And I mean, you have RuneLight notifications too for when you stop, so there's that.
Yeah.
Though I guess based on how crappy Windows notifications are, maybe that's not something to rely on. Yeah, I know. This guy here had a fun experience earlier today with Windows notification that soured
I was
you.
just trying to set up my inventory for quests, and the notifications kept covering my inventory, and
Yeah. And there's also the fact that now the supply crates won't bloat out your bank.
Oh, lovely.
So it's going to work like Guardians of the Rift.
Yeah.
So.
Which is good because in
that's
theory,
good because then you don't need to deposit that in between runs either.
No, exactly, and especially with the cakes you can bring, you have to bank a lot less.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is going to be awesome. And if you manage to, like, there's people who use a combination of Rapid Heal and Redemption. If you can make that work somehow and maybe stay there for like a lot of kills in a row, maybe the Far Braziers will finally get some more people.
Yeah, nobody goes there. But yes, that's actually a good point that you mentioned, that other things, other sources of healing like Heal Other, Redemption, and the Regen Bracelet, and the Hit Points Cape will tie into the Warmth system. That was not how it was on the beta, and they are aware of that, and that will be in there before launch. So that's good that you mentioned that. When do you think this is going to arrive, if you had to guess?
I mean, it's working, so assuming that the remaining changes are not too hard to add, probably sometime in October.
Yeah, that'd be good, because I still have to get 75 fire making for that last quest requirement.
Yeah, I need to go back there and get the rest of my pyromancers outfit.
Yeah.
And hopefully stop getting endless Bruma torches. I've gotten like 7 or 8 so far, and I'm still missing like 1 or 2 pieces of pyromancers.
Yeah,
while they have the same drop rate.
Speaking of drop rates, there, I think I perturbed you in that I went to start doing Wintertodt there, and on my 5th kill, I got the Tome of Fire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, shifting gears to other bosses in game, we all know that Wrathmaw did not pass the poll. I believe it was like something like 49% yes, 51 no, and this has spurred Jagex to really kick things into high gear and get this boss into game in another way. And this came from a live stream this week with community manager Mod Aiza and Mod Kieran, who is the one of the design directors for Old School, and they were talking about the potential changes that will be known as Sandmaw. What are your thoughts on this? Because I know most of our summit coverage focused on the projects in our servers, and we discussed Wrathmaw, but I think that was definitely the most controversial outside of the servers.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
You voted yes. I voted no.
I voted yes. Exactly. And ironically, I think I'm going to be voting no this time.
So what if it doesn't pass?
Yeah, then it doesn't pass, right? Like, there's a lot of changes that they're making to Wrathmaw. But I feel that at this point, the rationale behind these changes isn't what, like, good design principles. It's what will make this passable. How do we get this in the game?
Exactly.
Because
that's
a
what
lot
is
of these
happening
changes feel like crowd pleasers and like just trying to find the game design sense behind it. I don't know. Like,
it's almost
why?
as though there was a thing that came down from the higher ups that said, get this boss into game that drops PvP focused items, and now it's in the desert called Sandmaw. it's going to spawn much more often to the point where it's almost always going to have an instance up, removing the FOMO aspect of it. And that scratches an itch for a lot of people, as does putting it in the desert. But here's the thing. Wrathmaw would also still exist too. They would up the spawn frequency on it. They would make it spawn in singles, at least they're considering that. They're also considering make it do more damage to people who are scald, and increasing the teeth gain to it, and looking at the time it takes to get the rewards.
Yeah, like, we are basically deleting two things that this thing was going to fix, right? This was, in my opinion, a way to get, PvP people to actually be in the same place. Because the wilderness is big, and I feel it is very often in PvP clans' best interest to not fight each other, but to silently agree that you get that world and we get this world, and then,
And then stage the multi-combat areas and,
Exactly. And then just kill all the unlucky noobs that are actually trying to make use of and this, by making there be a very limited resource coming into the game, right? Like, it would only spawn 3 times a day. And exactly. And the teeth, there would be demand for them. And it just doesn't make sense at that point to not go for them. So it really encourages conflict. And I think that is healthy for the game as a whole. Because it avoids this.
But keep in mind, like you said, that is going counter to the wilderness PvP meta that people have, and that they want, to do their PvPing in a multi-combat area if they're PvPing as a group, and if not, you have, lone wolves roaming out there aiming to, snipe people off. Somebody who might be working on agility, for example, right?
That's fine. That's fine.
But the thing is...
So people didn't want this. They voted this down. Let it die.
Right.
But now we're still trying to get it in.
And see...
And that's the problem I have with it.
Right. Okay, I agree with that. And I think...
not just that. We're not even trying to put something similar in maintaining the same design goals. No, we're just doing whatever because we have the model already and we have the mechanics already, and it would be a waste. It would be a waste to let that. Fine. But I feel that this is just pulled together from I don't know. This is not even a compromise anymore.
No, it's not. And I feel like this is
a sellout.
This is showing one of the fractures of the polling system in this game about how when there's a thing that Jagex really wants in there, they will either bend their knee in a way that pleases the community, which I think this will please the community, if I'm being honest. I feel like this will please the community based on what we've seen in this Reddit post and the community reaction to it. Well, maybe not based on the top comment there, which is scrap this dog shit.
See, my thing is that when this failed, what Jagex should have done is not, because they address the symbols, right? Symptoms. People are like, I hate FOMO, I don't want FOMO. People are like, I don't want to go into the wilderness to get the new best in slot weapons. These are the things that people said. These are the problems that people have, right? I think Jagex should have gone back to the drawing board and be like, what do we actually want to achieve here? What is our actual goal with this content update? And then try to find a way to satisfy that design goal in a new way that doesn't have the same flaws as the current one. However, what they seem to have done is they seem to have taken a piece of content that had a previous design goal, they've taken the complaints, and without consideration of the design goals, found solutions for those complaints. And which undermines the underlying idea of the whole boss.
And in a very short amount of time, too, I might add. enough time to, fit it within the old Wrathmaw schedule, because as I think it's all become abundantly clear, outside of the Varlamore expansions and a few quests and Game Jam, we're going to be dry on content till February, March, I think.
I don't think it is that extreme, as we discussed before. We still have the holiday content,
leagues,
and there are always surprises. There's going to be quality of life polls. So I don't think it's really as dry as you'd make it.
Well, we'll see how it feels. We'll see how it feels.
Because we compared this to the previous summit.
It's the same number of things.
Exactly.
It's just that you have leagues straddling it this time.
Yeah, but last time you had Deadman, so
I guess.
But yeah, all in all, I don't think this is the right strategy, and I'll be voting against this because I am fundamentally, I mean, if I was against the whole idea of repolling, which I kind of am, I feel it's a cop out. Like, why are you polling if you're not willing to let content go, right? That's the risk you take with polling everything. Period. But I just think this is strictly a worse update. I have no interest in a world boss that is always active in the desert. And also, most of the interesting rewards are going to be remaining on the worldy one because they're only going to work in PvP.
Right. And we didn't.
So what's the whole point?
We didn't mention it, but the rewards for the Sand one are going to be defensive PvP items that reduce damage in PvP, as well as from Sandmaw and Wrathmaw.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the teeth primarily come from Wrathmaw still.
I guess if I go into the wilderness to do agility, I can wear that. Fine. Okay.
But you don't want to wear that when you're doing wilderness agility.
No.
I think this is also showing us something interesting. And it underscores the need for people, when they vote in updates, generally, which I think happened in this one, but I don't think happens generally. I think people need to vote for their own self-benefit. Because I think the vast majority of polls out there that come to old school wind up being a litmus test. As in, if we pass the 70% threshold, this update has received the community stamp of approval, and it's got the OSRS look and feel, and it fits into the game, even if I might not like it. But for things like this that are wilderness and PvP related, you actually get people to vote in their own self-interest. That's my theory on coming out of this. That's my higher level view at this right now, at least.
I mean, I've voted for things in the past that would not be in my self-interest necessarily if you look at it very short-sighted, right? Initially, I was like, oh, I don't want amylase crystals to be, dropped from different places because I want my graceful tokens to remain expensive, right? That's to me is very short-sighted.
And I want to also underscore that you have game design chops, so you're looking at it from a game design perspective in most things that you play, because you only play games that you feel are,
yeah.
good design.
But I think everybody can do this even on an intuitive level, right? You should not just everybody should always consider as much as possible the health of the game. Things like economy, things like, integrity and all of that. And
that's how I've been voting. Harder.
And sometimes that voting is not a great way of getting that.
Yeah,
passed.
Exactly.
But which is why game integrity updates aren't pulled.
Right. And what I want to say from that is that I have been, thinking about it in exactly the way that you just outlined. But this update and things that, we've seen coming out of the summit have really made me think maybe I just need to start voting in my own self-interest if I would like and play this content.
But like, if everybody were to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
No content would pass at all.
And then that would really, I think, put Jagex in a pickle in terms of, pointing out what is the standard of old school content that our community wants in this case. And I think that'd be interesting to look
Like,
at.
I think the better thing to do for you is if it's like wilderness content and it doesn't harm you, but you don't personally gonna play it, you should skip the vote. I skip, well, not anymore, but I used to skip most of the Iron Man votes. They don't affect me. Let them have it, right? The game needs to be one of give and take. If you always like, I will only vote for the specific updates that I want and that I can use, and everybody fought that way, it's game theory, right?
I would think we would have an entirely different game on that, and I'd like to know, based on our discussion here and this, what Jagex's thoughts are, if they consider that when putting up a poll. And are we, you and I, in the minority when one of these polls comes up, that we consider the health of the game, the design of the content, what this is going to do for all different levels? Or do the vast majority of people do it for their own self-benefit? I want to know that. Listeners, let us know.
I voted no on sailing.
Yeah. But to be fair, does that count? Because that wasn't a binary choice, because there were other skills involved.
There was a green light poll.
Okay.
I voted no on that.
Yeah. And
it barely passed.
Right, but was that because of the design, or was that because you didn't like the...
I wasn't convinced. I wasn't convinced with the design.
Okay, so the design aspect
and
of it.
my fears have come true, so
we're still in the minority on that, honestly. I think
not to toot my own horn, but I like the duration of the skill and the massive risk we're taking for the first new skill in old school RuneScape. You know.
And then apply that same logic to Wrathmaw or Sandmaw. Not nearly as risky as sailing.
No, which
yet
is why
at the same time,
yes.
The content will help certain players there. So if it's good content, if it fits the realm of what is old school look and feel and design and how it fits into the game, should it not pass?
I will exactly. I will grant the community this, right? The biggest concern that I saw people had with this piece of content was that it felt very old school, because of
the timed aspect of it.
The timed aspect of it.
Yeah.
And fair enough, I think that is a valid reason to vote a piece of content down, even though you're not directly involved with it, right? I'm not invalidating people's decision to vote against Wrathmaw. But I think the way that Jagex is handling that particular concern here is no.
It's what it is effectively doing is your original Wrathmaw was your round hole with the round object that you can fit in easily. Sandmaw is the square object that's trying to fit into the round hole, and they're with this Sandmaw content proposal changing that square into a round thing so it'll just fit in. That's exactly the thing. I think that's a good analogy.
At least it's not another food metaphor you came up with this time.
What is it with my podcast host and saying I have food metaphors? What was it last time?
Is something cheese related, if I remember correctly?
I don't like cheese. I don't think I'd do. I don't think I'd make a cheese food metaphor. You're the expert on cheese.
That's a big word.
No, it's true, isn't it?
I'm not an expert on cheese.
You buy big wheels of it.
I don't buy big wheels of cheese. Geesh.
Okay, well, you made it sound like you did at one point. Anyways, because we're on that, I believe it's time to talk about what we've been doing in our questing update. Okay, okay. We're not going to mention Royal Trouble and Olaf's Quest, because those were honestly two fetch quests that deserve to stay in 2006.
They weren't the pinnacle of questing. No.
But was okay. But what was whatever.
Talking is hard, isn't it?
Yes. What was good was the Fremennik Exiles. I enjoyed that.
I thought it was okay.
It was better than the hand quest.
It was better than the hand quest. Okay.
Do you agree with that?
That's a random quest to compare it to, but
because we just did that one last week.
The hand, no.
Or sorry, it was better than the My Arm quest, making friends with my arm.
Oh, yes. I thought you were talking about the hand in the sand. I'm like, that's a very random quest to bring up at this point. Yeah, no, I liked it better than making friends, for sure. I felt it was very traditional.
Yes.
It had some combat. It had some, gathering items from the overworld.
It didn't feel too fetchy.
Probably different if you don't have a guide, but
fair.
All in all, felt like it had all of the classical elements of a quest, and has some decent rewards as well.
It felt like it could have fit into a D&D party, honestly.
That too, yeah.
And maybe that's given the Fremennik nature of it.
Perhaps. I overall, yeah. No, I would say it's definitely not in my top favorite.
No, not in the top. Not in the top 5, so to speak. But the thing that I appreciated with this coming from RS3 is that this was an actual V quest, whereas the RS3 V quest turned out to be a Dragonkin quest 5 minutes in. Whereas we actually, kind of kept on.
Yeah, that was weird. That was very weird.
So, I appreciated that, and I can imagine how running through Waterbirth Island was probably, annoying if you didn't have a guide or know where to go in that.
Well, no, not something you have to do. You can get the drop, the Fremennik shield drop, by just killing a bunch of Dagonoths. But
yeah, but you wouldn't want to do that, I don't think, given the time it would take. So,
exactly.
Do you have any intention to go and eventually create the Ned is not face guard with this?
Maybe it has a slightly higher strength bonus, but I actually found out that my Blood Moon helmet has a slightly better strength bonus than my Natus Not helmet to begin with, so that makes it even less
so
tempting,
you'd be only gaining 1 or 2 extra strength then, because it's a 3.
Yeah, I think defensively it's better, but I don't. It's so expensive. It's like 20 mil for the Basilisk Jaw, I think. It's not worth it. Like, now we're getting in like the Bandos realm, right, where upgrades become so expensive just to squeeze out like a small 1 or 2 extra bonus. It's not worth it anymore. Like, at this point, there are so many more upgrades. Like, I would much rather save up. It's about 3 times as expensive, but I'd much rather save up for a piece of Virtus, for example.
Yeah, that's a good point.
For my mage setup.
That's a good point.
Or buy like a rapier. Stomping along those lines, I think, will be much more helpful. So if I get it, it will be very, very far in the future.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And
or because I get the Basilisk Jaw drop on my Iron Man or something like that.
Yeah,
but even that will be far.
That'll
in the
be far in the future, because otherwise you're looking at a 1 in 5,000 drop if you're not on Slayer Task for it, and you got to get to this quest still. So there's that. I did appreciate the 50,000 Slayer XP that I got from this here. from this quest. So that was
Yeah,
good.
of course you did. I already have the skill requirements for the quest cape, so I a little bit less urgent for me, though I do appreciate it. I do always find it disappointing once you get past the mid game. Like the first, I feel the first half of your progression quest rewards are these big milestones.
Yeah, that's why we have the ultimate quest guide.
Um, but like they give you like at least a level, sometimes multiple. And at this point, I feel I'm lucky if I get a solid chunk of progress towards a level,
Right.
which to me makes the rewards feel a little bit underwhelming. And I understand they can't really scale these quests to give you 200k XP, but if that's like the amount of experience between levels,
Well, that's master level or grandmaster level XP. This was a master quest.
yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, I can see that. But overall, I think that quest was probably the highlight of the week of the 3 or 4 that we did, if you include the My Arm quest last week. But I did mention that I was pleased with the Slayer XP there because, oh boy, have I! Well, no, I haven't become a Slayer over the last week and a bit. That would be putting the cart before the horse, now, wouldn't it? I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I am surviving. I am now level 65 Slayer, and I have been using Neve. I started off with Konar, but then I realized, I'm going to get assigned somewhere that I can't use a cannon, and that's going to be a bad thing.
I finally managed to convince you.
Yeah. And I've been using the cannon on pretty much any task that can use it. That has been what has got me through it. I have to be honest with you on that.
I need to start using it because my range level is lagging behind the rest of my combat skills.
My favorite task so far is Cal fights.
I could see that. I had like 1 or 2 cow fight tasks and I killed the big ones.
Yeah.
But you can save spot with ranged, but
it just works so well with the cannon, and you can go in that little dungeon that's just outside of the Shanty Pass, and you got your own alcove full of the level 85 ones, and it is wonderful Slayer XP.
Oh, I killed the even bigger ones.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're very slow, but they're decent XP.
Yeah. And based on where things are at progression wise with Slayer, I think I need to get somewhere in between 67 and 68 to have our last big Slayer XP drop from Secrets of the North, which I'm going to put on Slayer to get me to 69 for the quest cape.
You know what you could do instead to get Slayer XP?
What's that?
Achievement diaries.
I haven't thought about going for that yet. But even then, that's only a little bit of XP, and I don't necessarily know that I can complete all the easy and mediums at this point. So
it's still like 15k or something. I saw 15k lamp, so
that's for easy
entire,
medium.
That's like an entire task, a medium. So that's an entire Slayer task basically that you can do by just completing a diary, which is maybe better
for you, right? Maybe I do need to have a look at that. And this is also something I wanted to, query you on, is that how do you feel about dragons as Slayer tasks? I feel like they're not necessarily canonable, but...
Oh, no. I mean, I've not been using my canon myself, right? So, I've been using their elemental weakness.
Yeah. And, I had a task of, something like 40-odd Iron Dragons, and it went okay, believe it or not. So...
Using earth spells, I guess?
Yes, using... Not the blood one, the death one.
Yeah?
So...
Okay.
Oh, wow. I apparently have all the requirements to do up to the hard desert achievement diary.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good chunk of XP. Good luck killing the Calphite Queen now.
Yeah. Yeah. I know exactly how to do that, and I just need to find somebody to help me with it, because that'll be kicking.
What?
I want to kick it back
Help?
to how I did it in 2007.
Help?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. You can do it yourself.
No, I want to do it how I did it way back in the day.
Oh my god.
Back in the day.
Not it.
No.
Not it.
Oh, come on.
I did it myself.
Back...
I'm gonna be a little bit petty here and be like,
back in the day, my friend and I, he had a green party hat back when, they were rare on RS2. Sold his green party hat so that both of us could get combat supplies, Varax, and sharks, with the idea that we would go to the Calphite Queen and make that money back from Dragon Chains. Dragon Chains, of course, at the Calphite Queen are supposed to be 1 in 128, I think. We got one chain in 450 kills.
Oh.
And this is when they were multiple, tens of millions, and they're like actually worth something. So, I have a history with the Calphite Queen. But anyway, story time aside, that's what I've been doing this week. What have you been up to?
Not much, to be honest. With these quests completed, I did manage to finally finish the Fremennik Medium and Hard Diaries, which included getting 75 thieving, which I did at Valamore.
As you do.
As you do. It's one of the things I managed to do while watching some like YouTube streams or YouTube videos. Right? Like it works really well for that
some
level
soap
of
operas.
engagement. What?
Soap operas?
No, not soap operas. No.
Okay, just had to ask.
No. So that's that. That's been my main activity, really. I also knocked out 75 agility.
Oh boy.
Which means I now have access to the Priv agility chorus.
How is that? Like, how does that compare to the other rooftops?
It's fine, honestly. You can fail it, which sucks. I feel like I failed it more than the rooftop ones. It doesn't have any graceful tokens, but I'm largely doing it for the crystal shards, which they buffed a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was good. Was that the inspiration to go there?
No, I always wanted to go there and get the crystal shards, but getting the drop rate doubled is really, really nice. You get one shortcut per lap, so you get one shard per lap as well. I ended up with more shards than laps because you go through the shortcut and immediately fill the next obstacle and have to start over. Yeah, well, in that case, you get a free shard, I guess. But
and it's a big agility course too, if I remember correctly, right? Like just
it's fairly
scale.
long. It takes like well over a minute to complete it. Whereas most, well, it sort of depends. I think the poly one is also pretty long, and requires you to run all the way across town to get back to the starting point.
Yay!
And that is something that the Priv one doesn't do, at least. But I don't expect to be staying here until past level 80. So the plan I have right now is to like level 80 to 82 at Releka course, and then with the Fremennik hard, that should give me an extra XP drop. And then from level 82, I want to maybe look into Hallowed Sepulchre. I assume we have the quest requirements done by then.
Yeah, if not, we'll move those to the front of the list for that, because I know our Eastern Lands quests, sorry, not Eastern Lands, Mauritania quests have been relatively lacking because we're going to kind of do them in quick succession after each other.
So that's that, and we'll see where that goes. I mean, there's not really any big agility milestones left, I feel, but every single level helps. So like agility is one of these sort of comfortable fallback skills that I know I can just train for a little bit.
Untrimmed 99.
I don't know if that's going to happen. Like my farming XP has been just going so hard.
Yeah, you're gonna beat me to 99, aren't you? I gotta really kick
Yeah,
that
at this
up into
point,
gear.
and I don't even do it on purpose, right? I stopped doing farming contracts. I only do herb runs, and even then, just looking at my XP, I'm like 3/4 of the way to level 95. Which, sure, I'm not at 99 yet, but it does add up, all of it. I wish the herblore XP would from cleaning the herbs
Would go
add
that
up as
quick,
fast.
eh?
Would go that quick. Yeah, exactly. Though even that, I am making progress. I got, I think, like 79 herblore the other day. So,
You said you haven't been doing much this week. Well, there you are.
well, that's not this week, right? I have been doing a lot of herb runs though, on mobile, especially now we have my arm. We got the extra patches. Now that I have Feminic Heart completed, and I have 73
We make
agility.
friends with my arm.
Yes. That means that the teleport will now teleport me right next to the herb patch.
That's a legendary teleport in terms of
it
utility.
is. Both of the troll ones are for now for me. Yeah, that's been it. I feel I need to go back to Guardians of the Rift. I've been putting it off. It's by far my lowest skill at this point.
Yeah. You and I were having a conversation pre-show about how Guardians of the Rift has such different XP than, say, Giants Foundry, but then you pointed out that, no, they just fit it to what the XP rates were, the accepted XP rates for those skills. So
Runecraft is a slow skill. That's just part of what it is.
It's a prestigious 99.
It is. Yeah. But that's still, that doesn't make my life any better.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But we are just days away at this point from Varlamore Part 2, which we will be discussing next week on the podcast, of course. We welcome and encourage all of our listeners to subscribe, be ready for that, hit the little bell notification if you're on YouTube, make sure your phones are charged, make sure your podcast listening devices are all ready to go. You can, of course, find update on your favorite listening services out there, Apple, Pocket Cast, Spotify, YouTube as well. So add OSRS update on YouTube. Anything else before we go?
No, looking forward to the update next week.
Yeah, I am too. I wasn't at the summit, but I am now, so that's good. Mainly the herblore stuff. I'm most looking.
That's going to be good.
The herblore stuff in my quest. That's what I'm most looking forward to putting my fingers into. But
the quests are going to be good. I'm looking forward to I'm going to be spending a bunch of my Nightmare Zone points on herb boxes, I think, to get ready for that.
That's a good shout. Good shout.
For that herblore activity. I'm looking forward to the murder mystery quest. That's gonna be good.
I love a good murder mystery. And on that note, before anybody disappears in a grim fashion, we'll see you guys next week for another episode of the Old School RuneScape Update. See you then, everyone. Take care.
Bye.